LoreWarrior double feature, CTS-6Y, Cestus. Overview. Built for the SLDF, the Cestus was designed as a medium fire support mech. It went into production just before the start of the Amaris Civil War and continued to be produced until Kuritna forces destroyed GM's Cestus production facilities on Cathal at the start of the Second Succession War. The original design for the Cestus called for 2 PPCs and medium pulse lasers, but problems with overheating prompted the design team to use a Gauss rifle as the centerpiece of its weapons array. Accordingly, the designers dropped both PPCs and installed standard medium lasers instead of pulse versions. Capabilities. The excellent GM260XL engine gives the Cestus a top speed of 65 kph, as fast as most Star League era heavy mechs. To help dissipate the heat generated by the mech's weapons, the designers installed 12 double heatsinks. The Cestus's heavy armor and ample ammunition give it impressive longevity on the field. This mech's weapons are hard-hitting and deadly. A massive Poland main model A Gauss rifle gives the Cestus splendid range and striking power. Backed up is a pair of medium lasers and a large laser in each arm. And although it has twin weapons in the arms like the heavier Marauder, the Cestus retains its hand actuators for use in close combat. Deployment. The Cestus mechs built by Blue Shot Weapons have recently begun to reach the frontline units along the Lyran Alliance Jade Falcon border. Those produced by General Motors are deployed along the Federated Commonwealth's border with the Capellan Confederation and with the Periphery. Last month, Blue Shot Weapons announced its intention to sell the Cestus to mercenary units stationed in the Lyran Alliance. It isn't known at this time if GM plans to sell the Cestus to any more mercenary units. Variants. Currently, GM and Blue Shot Weapons both plan to introduce a variant of the Cestus based on the mech's original weapons configuration. This model will be known as the 6Z. It will drop the Gauss rifle and ammunition in favour of twin PPCs to be placed in the mech's arms. To deal with the increased heat generated by these weapons, the Z variant will also add 4 more double heatsinks. 3058 Overview. First produced by General Motors on Cathal for the SLDF in early 2766, the Cestus was in continuous production until DCMS forces destroyed the Cathal plant at the beginning of the Second Succession War. The SLDF's original design specifications for the medium fire support mech that became the Cestus called for twin PPCs, 2 large lasers, and a brace of medium pulse lasers. However, the heat sinks available at the time weren't up to dissipating such tremendous heat of this combination of weapons. The design team developed a prototype based on the powerful Gauss rifle, giving it 3 tons of ammunition. Despite the loss of the PPCs and downgrading of the pulse medium lasers to standard models, the SLDF evaluators were impressed with the redesign's power and its versatility, and thus approved it for full production. Capabilities. The new generation of Cestus battle mechs introduced in the last decade are powered by GM's efficient 260XL engine, giving it a top speed of 65 kph, a rating many consider on the slow side for a mech at the light end of the heavy spectrum. However, the weapons mix mounted by the Cestus make it a deadly adversary at all distances. The massive torso-mounted Poland Gauss rifle allows it to deliver devastating damage at range. Large and medium lasers mounted in each arm back up its Gauss rifle, and for contact range combat, the Cestus retains both its hand actuators, capable of gripping or striking an opponent as necessary. Deployment. For some reason, the Cestus hasn't been proven for popular units in the AFFS units in the Draconis March, though General Motors has made every effort to ensure that each major command has at least one of these mechs. Conversely, the Cestus is deployed throughout the Capella March and is the rimwood combat zones of the Crucis March. Though the Cestus has appeared in mercenary units such as the Broadsword Legion and the Elysian Lancers, GM hasn't sold mechs directly to any market other than the AFFS. Cestus battle mechs manufactured by Blue Shot Weapons can be found in every Lyran Alliance unit along the border with the Jade Falcons, with the 4th Lyran Regulars apparently very fond of this design. Blue Shot has also sold Cestus mechs to diverse mercenary groups such as the Kellhounds and the Dioscuri. It's invariously rumoured that the latter command received either a substantial discount or had their purchase underwritten by an undisclosed benefactor. In 3063, Archon Catherine gifted the Mobile Fire Mercenary Command with a mixed lance of the Y and Z variants of this mech. And speaking of variants, the Cestus 6Z variant is a return to the original SLDF specification, made possible by double heatsink technology. The 6Z deletes the Gauss rifle and ammunition in favour of 2 arm-mounted PPCs and 4 additional heatsinks, and it is very popular with commands on the periphery, which must often go for long periods without resupply of consumable ammunition. Blueshot Weapons has been reportedly developing a close combat version, and toward that end is experimenting with various torso-mounted autocannon configurations. Whether such a design is viable, or has a market beyond the arenas of Solaris, remains to be seen. General Motors of CAFL have abandoned efforts to develop a jump-capable variant. Notable mech warriors. Lieutenant Isadora Patel. Units of the Islamabad CMM's 2nd Battalion were engaging in field manoeuvres, and a goodwill tour of sorts, along the rimward border of the Islamabad combat region in the spring, when their 1st and 3rd companies found themselves in the middle of an apparent pirate raid on Cohagen. It was later learned that Colonel Teresa Daniels had, in fact, led a mixed battalion of her inexperienced 3rd Taurian Lancers on a bloodying mission, expecting to find only the planetary militia in place. The battle for Cohagen then quickly became a battle of equally inexperienced forces out of their depths, quickly devolving into a series of missteps and overreactions which would have been comic but for the extensive collateral damage to the civilian infrastructure. Daniels made an error that could have been tragic when she mistook a Hindi ashram for a concealed military base and ordered a strike force. Neither Lieutenant Patel nor any of her Lance had ever been in combat, but nonetheless, with no backup available, they took position astride the narrow valley leading to the commune. In 2 hours of furious fighting, they held the mixed company at bay until Daniels discovered her error and recalled them. Lieutenant Patel accounted for 2 plainsman tanks, a Vindicator, and a single guillotine. So yes, the Cestus, it's an interesting looking mech. I don't dislike it though. Maybe the pose is just a bit off, and I'll have to see if there's more up-to-date artwork for this thing, because I'm not sure what its arms are doing at the back here. It's like it's kind of like doing a hop, skip, and a jump kind of thing. It's like, oh hey! But, you know what, it's not a bad looking mech. I don't dislike the Cestus. It's 65 ton, its chassis is a GM Heavy CVA, power plant is the GM 260XL, it gives it cruise speed of 43 and a max speed of 65 kph with no jump capacity. Its armour is Duralex Special Heavy, its armament is 2 Defiant B3L large lasers, 2 Chiscomp 39 medium laser, and a single Poland main model A Gauss rifle. It's manufactured by General Motors and Blueshot Weapons, though Blueshot produced it under license. The primary factory is on Cathal and Solaris 7. Communication system is a Tharhes Thalia HM22, and its targeting and tracking is provided by the Salamander Systems ComPhase unit. Stat-wise, this translates into a mech that can move 4 and 6 on the field. It has a heat dissipation of 24, provided by its 12 double heat sinks. It has 9 armour on the head, 32 on the centre torso, 10 on the rear, 22 on the right and left torso with 8 on the rear, 20 on the arms, and 30 on the legs. The Gauss rifle is located in the right torso, with 16 shots of ammo next to it, with a further 8 rounds of ammo in its centre torso. It has a medium laser in both arms and a large laser in both arms. It's pretty simple, straightforward, and I like it for that reason. It's a pretty damaging mech. It doesn't go very fast, as it says, but with pretty respectable armor for its weight class and long-range firepower, it's not a bad mech at all. One of those mechs that it isn't going to win any beauty contests, and it certainly isn't going to be in the popular category with a lot of players, but certainly if you were to use one of these things on the field, I think you'd quickly discover that you're going to be causing a lot of misery and pain to your opponents with this thing. Now, there was a request on I think it was one of the more recent LoreWarriors, about what the Alpha Strike stats are. Now, I'm not as familiar with Alpha Strike, so I will just read out the abbreviations for a lot of these things, because I'm not completely au fait with the rules as compared to others. But the Cestus has a TP of BM, a size 3, a total movement modifier, I think it is, of 1, movement of 8 inches, its role as a brawler, and it has a skill of 4, I think, by default. It has short of 4, medium of 2, and long range of 2. Short of 4, medium of 5, long range of 2, with a total of 10 hit points, 7 of them armor, and 3 of them being structure. So, for what it's worth, there it is. Yeah, overall, I don't dislike the Cestus. It's an interesting looking mech. I could definitely see this being one of those mechs that probably like slowly phases in and replaces damaged units, and you could imagine This being the kind of thing that might start to replace out-of-date mechs like the Marauder for a time, until obviously newer variants of that start to roll out and become more commonplace. You could probably see this thing being, any of these kind of newer designs being placed on the clan border, being used against them, so scenarios where you may be playing the clans fighting against, obviously, Innisphere troops post-invasion, or obviously any scenario where you're defending against clan raiders, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's an interesting mech. It's definitely a threat, and yeah, I quite like it. So we'll leave it there. The Cestus. It's an interesting one. Thanks for listening, as always. Have a good week, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.